To begin with, this is the time wherein when we all our industry is almost not almost it's entirely on standstill. So I see this is the time to upscale and rescale our employees and upscale and rescale our knowledge skill set as well. So the kind of events which Ritu you are organizing to your organization, I think this is really commendable, and this show should go on. Uh, from my side, yes, I have been trying to bridge the gap between academia and the industry, because what I felt around 10 years ago, then as and when I used to take the interviews for the candidates within my department in my previous organization, I could find that what we are looking for in that profession, those professionals, something is missing. So, they have come with best of their knowledge with Philip Kotler or Maslow hierarchy model or all these, understanding, theoretical understanding. But what we need is in our industry something different. Even so, I approached few of the universities that this is what my thought process is. So if what learning I have from the industry, if I can inculcate, give it back to them, so I would like to volunteer myself. So that's how the journey started. And few universities said yes, few said no, few said maybe. And then slowly and gradually, after one lecture, after another lecture, I was fortunate that I got few invitations, and then I could continue my journey to that side as well. And a couple of months ago, I was fortunate that I applied for the part-time this expert roster option for UNWTO. Now they will be having few projects which were pertaining to post-COVID strategies for maybe Indian subcontinent. So in due course, I will be trying to learn few things from there. I will try to contribute from my side, where the practical aspect of a small journey of me in this industry, which I can contribute it back, so that we all can homogenize all the segments together in this supply chain. So when I started talking to the industry experts, coals, mines, FMCG, who are expert in supply chain management, and started sharing the dash with them on various conferences. So the supply chain model which came across was the model which was very standardized. Like they have management, they have analysis, they have logistics, they have products, they have plans, they have procurement, distribution, and the profit. That is how, as and when I could understand from FMCG, pharma, coals, mines, and few others. But when I related it with our part of industry, that how the supply chain, and that was the addition, that when sustainable supply chain model came into the pictures for these commodities, so sustainability part become the buzzword. So, but when I related this supply chain management part with our industry, wherein the differentiator factor is the consumer behavior. So everything which we curate, everything which we work around, it's purely dependent on the consumer and the customer of that particular region, that particular nationality, and where you want to travel, and what we can curate and what we can customize the product accordingly. So historically, when customer behavior dependent, decision making dependent on social economic influence, the reference group influence, and the motivation, in today's scenario, what I could gather from the customer perception, it's getting more and more towards the sustainability part aspect of the tourism supply chain. So when we talk about the supply chain in our industry, what could I gather? That instead of calling it supply chain, it's a value chain system. And value chain system is like wherein customer at the front, and then based on the requirements and the necessity and the behavior pattern and the demand of that customer, we are planning, we are innovating, we are developing the product, and accordingly we are aligning our sources and the suppliers based on the requirement fulfillment. So if there could be different requirements of a customer who is from Japan, there could be different requirements who is from France or from US, or different nationalities coming to India, or vice versa. So the value chain is more customer centric, especially in our industry. However, the supply chain, which the tangible commodities, which I mentioned about pharma, FMCG, it starts from the material supplies, and end at the customer part. So here the differentiator factor is the customer, who is the decision maker, and where the value chain holds the key, holds the relevance. And in that value chain, the supplier alignment and the product curation and the innovation are the most critical components in the entire value chain. So this is how the thought process of a thought process of a customer. Sorry, I need to go back. This is, yeah, this is the thought process of customer goes. When he think about holidays, he think about various things. So he is free to do that, but end of the day, it's the responsibility of us, the professionals, how to streamline that thought process into the way, into the doing the engineering, so that we can get the right fit product, which is the customer delight. And this is my favorite slide for my most of the presentation, where all are happy faces. And this is what we, as in the experts in this industry, would want to see. So whatever the thought process of the customer would be, end of the day, by streamlining his thought process into the desired results, and desired result is customer's delight. And but how to do it, that's the point. And how we can do it, and how we can have the sustainability aspect of the contribution in customers delight. So when we talk about the sustainability, we have various components, which could be the natural environment, economic vitality, and the healthy communities. These things, these components of the supply chain contribute the combined overlapping, which we may call it as in the sustainability part. Now we have social goals, we have environmental goals, and we have economic goals also. Now when I mention the economic goals, this is something which is always on the focal point for be it destination management companies or the suppliers. Overall, the economic goals have to be met, but that is a very macro perspective. When we talk about the sustainability, the economic goal of the grassroots stakeholders, if the big question comes, have they met? If yes, then have the social goals, the social obligation what we have to get the customers to their ecosystem, have they met? If yes, have the environmental goal of that particular ecosystem have met? Are we getting into the over carrying capacity, or are we getting the right product for the right people, or are we getting the right pricing, wherein we are contributing for the social, environment, and the economic goals, and the overlapping is sustainability. So economic goals, social goals, environmental goals. So macro perspective, it may be pertaining to a DMC, it may be pertaining to the ground handlers, but overall, the sustainability goals, social, environment, and economic goals for the entire society, end to end the supply chain. Now, this is actually the sustainability is big perspective, big elephant. So every expert defines sustainability in their own way. So I remember in my childhood, in our childhood, there was a animation in Delhi Doordarshan, where they used to be, this elephant used to represent with the country, and then the people from various religion used to argue within themselves. No, it's something different, it is something different. For me, the sustainability is a big elephant, a bigger version, a global version, and we all the experts, all the stakeholders are trying to contribute a bit in their own way, and they have been successfully doing it. So everyone is correct here. So the big point is, the question mark is, if everyone is doing correct, are we synchronizing it enough to getting into the right direction? If yes, I think we are heading towards the right side. If no, then what could be the ways and means wherein we can synchronize our efforts for the common goals, which is the sustainable development goals? So the bigger picture is, when we talk about sustainable development goals, so out of 17 SDGs, which has been defined by United Nations, there are many goals which are meant for us. There are many goals which are meant for hospitality and tourism industry. The simple reason is, we all know then we contribute around 8 to 10% of global GDP, barring this period wherein we are facing the tough time. And every 10th person of the world is directly or indirectly associated with the tourism industry, the hospitality industry. So the sustainable development goals mapping with tourism supply chain management is huge. So when we see the bigger picture, whatever we are contributing in our own bit to contribute towards the bigger version of sustainable development goals, that is how it goes, wherein we need to contribute, or we are contributing in fact, to achieve the SDGs 2030 ambition. Now, but these are the results for 2020 for the scorecard, where the country stands as in SDG performance, wherein the top 6 countries are those small countries, rather the European countries: Sweden, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Norway. Here the sample size is the total member countries 193. So out of 193 countries, when parameters were taken, all those 17 SDGs, and then tools were used, and then data was used, and then this list came into the picture. UK was 13, UK was 13, and India ranked 117 in SDGs. So the big question comes that, are we missing somewhere? If we are putting the right efforts into the right direction to the value chain management system, especially including tourism industry, are we missing something? If we are missing something, so what it could be and how it can be taken care of? So we have various planks, we have various components. So on a blank board, are we putting the right component at the right place, or do we need to put some extra efforts for that? If we need to put extra efforts, so what it could be, or what efforts we could use to synchronize our efforts. So these are the norm strategy chart, wherein starting from the customer to the supplier, the multi-tier suppliers, there's a chain. There's a chain wherein on one side there is the focal company, which we call the destination management company. We got suppliers, we have government, we have customers, we have stakeholders, and then we have pressures and incentives as well. So entire economy of the process flow goes in and around what we earn and what we contribute back to the society. So the pressure, if you see, the pressures and incentive lies between the government, customer, and the focal company. And in our trade, in our supply chain, value chain management, focal company hold the responsibility to launch the sustainable products as per the requirement of the customer, as per the government guidelines. And then they need to do the supplier evaluation for risk and performance, so that effective sustainable product can be curated. We can curate this effective sustainable products, and we can give it back to the customers in a way that whatever the bucket list of customer needs when about the sustainable product, we should be able to fulfill it. And on the other way, focal companies like destination management companies need to put pressure on the suppliers that yes, when we need to do the evaluation focusing on the sustainable product, we would be using those suppliers who can fulfill those requirements. And that is how I would like to say this pressure may work well, and it actually worked well. So picking up those suppliers, those partners who can be the right fit instrumental to derive the synchronization of the sustainable efforts, where destination management company can pick those aspects and then part it to the customer in a way of in a form of a product, so that the bucket list of customer can be mapped as per the deliverables at the ground zero, which suppliers end. So we have a destination management company, we have wider role to play, because they are the connecting link between customer and suppliers. So we need to tailor make, we need to develop the tourism products as per the customer's bucket list, and which have outcome in the form of community participation of the destination. That's what the sustainable value chain is all about. And that's what the destination management company have a wider role to play, and wider perspective and wider responsibility lies on the shoulders of the focal company. Because the person who is sitting in Japan or California or France or South Africa, he may be having the wish list but don't know how to fulfill that. And the ground handler have ability to fulfill that. Out of 10, maybe 5 or 6 ground handler can be homogenized, right fit for that particular nationality. So responsibility goes to the focal company, and that's the not even the professional responsibility. I feel this is the moral responsibility of a destination management company or the focal company also, to substantiate those products which are sustainably viable, and can contribute backward towards the grassroots level as well for the community participation. So when we are a DMC, we have to think about protecting endangered places, fragile ecosystem, rescaling and upscaling. Here, the entire focus is only value chain management, wherein the destination management company plays a vital role. Now, even if the product is sold, now what efforts to reduce the impact on the climate change in terms of the carbon footprint, and how we can collaborate with the local people to educate them, not in terms of the earnings, but to give them the value addition, give them the value proposition, that how tourism can bring the change in the community, how tourism can bring the change in the education of the children, and how how they can empower the community by not disturbing the fragile ecosystem. So there has been various DMCs, including Mr. Mohan. So they are doing best of the efforts to get all these processes in place, to get all these activities in place. So when I started working A&K, so I came across the very noble cause which we A&K believe. So I am taking the liberty to give the example of my own organization, wherein I feel that what I've seen has been delivered on the ground. So Sukriti, I mean, I took these pictures from the website. So we believe passionately that sustainable tourism offer the best hope for protecting not only endangered places, but the local communities as well. And when we are protecting the local communities, the natural heritage by default can be protected. So it's a symbiotic relation. When we are giving them something, they are understanding whatever they are earning, whatever their livelihood quality is upgrading, it is because of their own natural heritage. So they will start respecting their natural heritage much more in a way. Otherwise, in today's generation, when there has been urban movement, the osmosis, wherein the generation would want to come to the cities to work. So if we can incorporate the sustainable tourism, we can make them understand, yes, skill set enhancement can be done. You can work well within your own ecosystem, within your own areas, and then you can earn and you can contribute it back too. So not only contributing it back on the ecosystem, we can empower the communities as well. We can protect the environment also, and then overall the entire supply chain value chain system can safeguard the endangered species and the ecosystem. Rural migration, urban migration can be stopped if we are focusing more on the sustainable part. In turn, what we are going to get, the educated people who are from that society, here we can use them as a guide. We can use them as homestays. We can use them creating the different experiences altogether, which most of the companies are doing. So local culture, local communities, we can safeguard their fragile environment too. Now, by doing so, the best part I could gather was we can have effective guide structure. The guides make or break the tour, the essence of the tours. We all agree with that. So the local guides who have not only the financial aspect, but they have the emotional aspect of having them associated with that particular tribe or that particular system, where they can contribute in a better way when it is about having a guide. And we need to educate them for sure, as per the international quality standards, by sharing the SOPs, by giving them regular training sessions. And what I have read the feedback of the customers, the local guides, lingo still, I mean, they can cope up, but the local guides contribute for the best of the experience for FITs, for the groups, and they are feeling connected. So there's a customer, there's a guide, and there's the ecosystem. So there's a sequence at the ground level where the customers have best of the experience by having the local guides. Now, the one more responsibility which comes for the destination management company are the supplier evaluation for the risk and sustainability performance. See, if I may refer the example, golden triangle will always be remain golden triangle, but do we need to go out of it? I think answer is yes. And I think this is the right time wherein we need to think out of the box, where the risk and sustainability performance can be quantified. If what I believe, if nothing is quantified, it does not exist. Even the experiences, though parameters and tools can be different, the output and outcomes could be different, the resultants may vary, but everything can be quantified. Even if the experiences, we can have the homogenic tool set or to measure the experiences as well. So how we can evaluate the suppliers, how we can ask them to be the part of the sustainable tourism, the sustainable community, is effective effective service level agreements. So this is the part I think which most of the destination management companies are doing, but we are doing in a very generic way. Generic way as in, like, okay, we have vetted the document for the legal departments, we are approaching the partners to fill it up, but it's not only about the filling up. I think there should be flexibility that what service level agreements, the parameters we can adhere in the metro cities, in the chain hotels, we cannot get it done in the smaller towns or maybe the wildlife lodges or maybe the homestays. So when I talk about the effective service level agreement, I think it is very important that we have to have service level agreement in a place, because when we talk about we deals with the humans from end-to-end supply chain management. Customers are our responsibilities when they are reaching to the host destination, but binding of the service level agreement is something which is of the utmost important, which supplier evaluation can be done based on effective service level agreement. And as I mentioned, that instead of going for all the legal bindings, we should be flexible here, that having multiple service level agreements based on the requirement fulfillment, what it stands for, especially when we talk about the wildlife lodges or the ecotourism lodges. It cannot be same what we talk about the heritage products or the heritage boutique hotels, and it cannot be same for sure matter the big chain hotels where they have been constructing their product keeping the service level agreement in mind. Second is the health and safety. Once service level agreement is done, are we doing the rigorous health and safety and the quality audits wherever the sustainability performance and the risk performance can be quantified? We need to make everyone answerable in the supply chain. If we are getting the benefit of this value chain, every stakeholder is responsible enough to quantify, to qualify, to represent, to deliver the parameters as per the required international sets. So here what comes handy is the effective certification, like Ritu's organization does. Third party certification, wherein we as an organization, the destination management company, is not influencing that, okay, I'm keen to use that hotel, but if that hotel does not fulfill all the requirements, I would want to do it. So when we have the third party audits, so third party audits will be having a very strict compliances. So when we'll be having these third party certification, so we can have the risk and the sustainability performance of the suppliers in a stringent way, the right way, and the right assurance the deliverables can be attained. Now, the other stakeholder are the ground handlers. So what we expect, and as and when I have been speaking to various ground handlers, suppliers within limited scope of my profile also, they have been recruiting, training, and employing local community members, including living in poverty, although they are offering the jobs based on their skill set, but they are doing a noble cause, integrating them to our value chain system, where customers to the DMC and then the ground handling comes handy. The second expectations, which now people have, like the hoteliers have starting doing it, reducing the waste, especially the plastic waste. We all know that how much time, how much centuries, how much decades of plastic take to get into again at the micro level. So organic waste as well as fertilizer as well as the plastic waste, they have been focusing on that. And in last 8 to 10 years, I've seen the trend where the plastic bottles are being replaced by the glass bottles. And there are various other ways and means where hotels are performing. And thanks to the organization like Ritu's organization, wherein they are putting it under the SOPs, the protocols, that where all the carbon footprint impact can be reduced, we should be focusing on those parameters, and that would be the real cause contribution for the sustainable or ecotourism or whatever terminology we may take it for that. So one of the expectations from the ground handler suppliers is like the way DMC is the destination management companies, they are educating them in terms of the service level agreements, the quality audits, and the quality audits are, these are sort of the eye openers for the hoteliers also. As per the hoteliers, they might be doing their best within the limited scope of their understanding. But while giving them the SOPs, while telling them internationally, this is what is required, are you be able to fulfill? 90% the answer is yes, they will be able to fulfill. But it's more of a synergizing, the things, the way international community want through DMC to them. Now, if everything is being done, so where is the challenge that why we are on 1/1/3 or 1/1/17 in the list of 193 host countries? Where what is missing if we are contributing to the 10% of the GDP? So in my opinion, the monitoring and evaluation of data is the part which we can streamline from ground zero to the decision makers. So we can quantify various things. So my focus, what in my little experience of the industry, and when I have been speaking to the academia, what I could gather is the quantification for monitoring and evaluation is something of the data, is something we should be focusing on. So I shared this slide a few minutes ago, wherein in the list of sustainable development goals, we are still far behind. So in my opinion, in my little understanding, the effective sustainable data management, if it's effective synchronization, it's effective inference, and it's effective governance and policy making influence, is something which, as the value chain stakeholders for tourism industry, think we need to see whether the efforts we are doing at individual level, when I mentioned individual, I'm referring the DMC, the hotelier, the suppliers, are we able to be in a coherent way to synchronize it, to pass on the data to the right people? So what I could do is, I have been attending few sessions from United Nations, and they were very proactive when they were defining the monitoring and evaluation. And what I could relate, that we are doing the monitoring, be it DMC part or be it the ground suppliers part, value chain management. I'm not focusing on the customer part, but here the monitoring, what we have been focusing on the more, like frequency, we have been doing regular and periodic monitoring. Are we contributing in a sustainable way? Yes. Are we keeping track? Yes. Are we improving, adjusting the work plan? Yes. Here the horizon is short term. When I talk about the short term, it could be duration wise also, it could be horizontally the geographic wise as well. Now the focus program cycle is, there's an input, there's a process, and there's output, and there's a full stop after output. And the reference of comparison, they have various references. We have the secondary data when the work plans are there, performance targets are there, even reference indicators are there. So what I feel, that is the time for us to move ahead from monitoring to evaluation part, wherein the frequency, sorry, yes, the frequency, the main action, the main action could be appraisal. Here the evaluation, if I may refer, the sustainable development goal, a bigger picture by 2030. So while monitoring is important, are we synchronizing it with the evaluation? That's what we need to, this is a food for thought. We all need to think. And the basic purpose of evaluation is improve the relevance, the effectiveness, and the impact for future programming. And thus, that's what this purpose of the entire sustainable value supply chain management is. The one, the monitoring part, wherein it improves the implementation, efficiency, and work plan, but the evaluation, wherein it improves the relevance and the effectiveness and future impact. And that future impact will be implemented, and that impact will come back to us, in terms of the cycle wherein it can go in the betterment of the ground stakeholders. And horizon of evaluation is always a long term, beyond the scope of specific program. When we think about sustainable development goals, out of 17, there are many which are in synchronization with the tourism industry, the supply chain. So the focus of program cycle is outcome as well as impact. So the reference of scale, it's a broader program objectives along with the strategies and the benchmarking. So from monitoring, it's time to map the evaluation part as well. Now, this is the type of monitoring. From here, we can derive the things for our evaluation part. And this is what we all are doing. We are implementing monitoring, like plans are in place. We are achieving the result, yes. And there's situation monitoring as well, whether pertaining to that particular situation. One, in our industry, the best part is 1 + 1 can never be 2. It can be 11 also. We don't need to have the stakeholders to know this formula of chemical formula of photosynthesis or E is equal to mc square. What they need to do is giving the best of their services at the ground, and there the situation monitoring plays a vital role when it's a type of monitoring. So if you see, the monitoring focus is inputs and the impact part. And impact is something which we have been focusing on our day-to-day monitoring part. So when we see the planning and use of monitoring aspect, synergizing it with the evaluation part, we need to keep our baseline correct. We need to keep our targets correct. And we need to link the plans to the data collection to use for the right stakeholders. And who are the right stakeholders? The decision maker who can utilize that data, who can analyze that data, who can make the policies for sustainable value chain management system. And that's why the link from plan data collection to use. Now, the indicators, everyone knows it. So direct, indirect, direct indicators which are under your control, indirect in the indicators which are the services which are more quantitative, qualitative in nature. So those indicators vary from region to region. So what indicators we may think from Japan, for Japan it may not be for India, for India it may not be for South America. So all these indicators vary from place to place. Within India also, if you're talking about a destination, the direct, indirect indicators may be different. Then we can the qualitative and the quantitative indicators as well. Now, this seems to more of a methodological, but this is something, if we are heading to the right direction, the risk management, the sustainable data management will be, I feel, could be the very effective. Like there can be formal, informal, both the methodologies. It could be community interview, it could be field visit, it could be questionnaire, it could be field experiments, it could be the panel surveys of the experts who are experts in that particular domain. So last slides, wherein what could be the possible results of these result-based monitorings, analyzing the information, actual results and expected results can be mapped. We can make the adjustments and take the corrective action, and that monitoring can be shared for facilitating the change. It can be the modus operandi to capturing the change, and it can move from monitoring inputs activities to monitoring results, and monitoring result to the evaluation part. And when evaluation is done properly, it will come back to us in terms of the right policy for the stakeholders benefits. I think that's how the entire value chain management, in my opinion, revolve around. And the takeaways, the example, best example is the medium term strategy planning of OECD, how they took the data from implementation to the evaluation phase, and what relevance they could get, what efficiency they could get from it, what effectiveness they could get, and what impact they could get out of it. And the most important part is the sustainability. Are the results likely to continue when external support is withdrawn? If yes, then my opinion, what we are monitoring, what we are doing the evaluation, what we are passing the data to right stakeholders, to the government, to maybe United Nations, Niti Aayog, those decision makers, if the solution is the results are continue with without the external support, for the sustainable ecosystem, yes, we have achieved the goal. That's what this sustainability is all about, in my opinion, the value chain system. And these kind of data monitoring to evaluation, if the chain we can correct from ground zero to the stakeholders to the decision makers, we can achieve the sustainable development goals, SDGs 2030 effectively. If countries who are, and 100th or 117th or 120th out of 193 countries, I think they can scale up. And the contribution of tourism, undeniably, is we contribute 10 to 8 to 10% GDP contribution, and we have huge responsibility lies in our shoulders with DMC, with the ground handlers. Or that's what I would like to summarize, that value chain system is nothing but we are comprised of. It's all about you, me, and we all together, all the stakeholders together contributing to the sustainable value chain supply, sustainable value supply chain. And it's our responsibility during this tough time to synchronize the data, to synchronize it in a way that it should reach to the right fit stakeholders, and in turn we should get what this industry deserves for. And I have taken these information, the data, the inspiration from various sources, various United Nations agencies. So this is a few of is my thought, and most of the data which I have collected from the secondary sources and the primary sources, not all the secondary sources of UN agency and few other sources.